Level 90, Bitter Snow. The glint in Shirabot's eyes suggests she was hoping you might pass through. Well, if it isn't Zilly, all around good egg and champion of, well, the whole world, I suppose. Word travels fast, my friend. We've heard all about your exploits defeating the blasphemies that plague the good people of Eorzea and Doma. Sadly, there are other fell beasts that yet want for slaying, but fear not, our efforts to bring them low proceed apace, and we've had naught but glad tidings from our allies. In fact, we but recently received word from the resistance forces in Bosia that a blasphemy was slain, thanks in no small part to Lord Hien's timely assistance. Perhaps the most surprising report came from Werlet, where soldiers led by the infamous Black Wolf fought alongside Alamegan troops for yet another hard-earned victory. Reports from Garlemald, however, suggest another blasphemy threat lurks in the snows, and we received a petition for assistance. Strange, don't you think? When the effects of the final days began to spread in earnest, we encountered a great many monsters in Garlemald, but never a blasphemy. And to make matters worse, they say the Garleans who chose to remain and rebuild have begun transforming into yet more hideous creatures. From what I understand, it was you and your comrades who brought an end to the source of the final days, is that right? Even so, it would appear its effects will linger for a while longer. Till this malevolent influence on Casa subsides, I dare say this won't be the last time we hear of such sightings. As for the blasphemy, we have reason to believe it is a great deal stronger than any we've faced thus far. Your strength and experience would prove quite valuable if you're willing to help, of course. Why, of course I'll help. Is the Ilsabard contingent not equipped to handle this threat? Yeah, we'll help. Truly, our contacts in Sharlayan will be thrilled to hear it. Though they did not explicitly request your presence, it was clear from the first they were hoping for it. Though if I may be frank, I was not expecting Sharlayan of all places to be so concerned with the present state of Garlemald, but with their strict policies on non-intervention, perhaps we'll find out the reason before this is all over. That's an inquiry for another time. I'll not keep you any longer. Once you arrive in Garlemald, I should think the intelligence officer stationed there will be more than happy to apprise you of the situation. Zilly, it's an honor to have you with us. Miss, I presume you've come to assist in our hunt for the blasphemy. Axima and Lucia will be pleased to hear it if you would come this way. It's good to see you, though I wish it were under more fortuitous circumstances. We were reluctant to call upon you, knowing you but recently returned from the far reaches of the heavens, but we are no less glad for your aid. Now then, I believe it best if the man who first discovered this blasphemy explained the situation. Ah, Zilly, good. We may forego introductions then. Thank you for answering our call for assistance. As for the situation at hand, it concerns a joint effort between the Forum and the Loperites to find new purpose for the moon. While there is no longer need for a vessel to evacuate the star, we believe the moon may yet prove of use to the people of Aetheris. After much contemplation, a rather ingenious proposal was put forward to transform the moon into a repository for man's knowledge, an archive of hitherto unseen scale. Sharlayan has long had the honor of boasting incomparable repositories of the world's knowledge, but it is far from perfect. Should calamity befall us, natural or otherwise, the wisdom of ages we have long labored to preserve would be lost. But the moon is beyond any such risk. What's more, it is beyond the jurisdiction of any one nation. Thus did we consult the allied nations of Eorzea, the Far East, and Razatan. They agreed to assembling a survey team to take measure of the moon and its potential as a repository. Our plans for assessment were forestalled, however, by the presence of an entity we believe to be a blasphemy in the Tower of Babel. Claims of Garlean citizens transforming into monsters shortly after its discovery only gave further credence to our initial supposition. But we've not only ill tidings to share, reinforcements have been dispatched to aid us in quelling the blasphemy threat. Lord Torrell and a member of Gridania's Keepers of the Entwined Serpents have already begun an investigation into the catalyst of these transformations. Though the skies no longer burn and the spread of this affliction is much curtailed, we must remain vigilant. Till the blasphemy threat has been quelled, Alphinaud and Alizé have graciously offered to help keep calm the people of Tertium while we attend to the people here. The matter of the blasphemy is not so easily resolved, I am afraid. We recently met with certain complications that have hindered our plans. Ugiri and Fordorla are presently deliberating how best to resolve the situation. Perhaps it would be best if you heard the details directly from them. I should like to join you, if I may, as this endeavor was originally undertaken on Charlian's behalf. I feel it is my responsibility to see this through to its conclusion. I did not expect to see you here, of all places, but I am no less glad for your presence. I presume word of the blasphemy is what brought you here, in which case I believe it may be best if a member of the reconnaissance team's guard explained the situation. Acquaintance of yours? Long time no see, Lorenz. Aren't you the captain of the company of heroes? I'd heard tell you were the worldly sort, but bugger me if I know where you heard my name before. I'm just a lowly sword for hire, hoping to fatten my purse with a touch of mercenary work after taking my leave from Limsa. The job sounded simple enough, but, well, I'm sure you wouldn't be here if it were, eh? But you didn't come all this way to hear about me, did you? The blasphemy we're after is making its nest in the upper reaches of the Tower of Babel, the auxiliary sector, I believe it was. But it wasn't alone. A sizable horde of beasts were circling about like knights protecting their queen. Naturally, we thought to strike from a distance before engaging in earnest, but not a single bullet reached its mark. They were protected by some manner of mystical shroud, as far as I could figure. Without a keen eye for magic, I don't see anyone getting through. By the time we understood the futility of the situation, we'd been spotted. Retreat was our only option. Pains me to say it, but there won't be any brute forcing our way through this one. My understanding was that, once transformed, these blasphemies are completely devoid of ether. With what energies could it create such a barrier? That's the question, isn't it? My first thought was some heretofore unknown technique for conjuring shields. Needless to say, I'm out of my depth when it comes to matters of magic. Which is precisely why I plan to speak with the Elder Seedseer when she arrives. If anyone can help us find a way to overcome the blasphemy's protection, it's her. In the meantime, could we trouble you to help with the not-so-small matter of people changing into beasts? The blasphemy's horde was large enough when we first found it. We can't afford for more to join its reigning. Very well, we shall reconvene with Lord Ortorel and discuss strategy. Before you go, there's something else you should know about the tower. From the moment we set foot inside, I could swear there was someone or something watching us. I shrugged it off, thinking it a figment of my imagination, but in hindsight, I'm not so sure. Nothing to worry ourselves about now, but best to keep on your guard when we do finally return to the tower, eh? It is good to have you with us, my friend. Indeed, the road before us is not an easy one, and a woman of your talents will prove invaluable to our efforts. We but recently returned from reconnaissance, wherein we made few rather surprising discoveries. First and foremost, we were pleased to discover that no one residing within Camp Broken Glass or Tertium have turned, no doubt thanks to concerted efforts of Maxima, Alphinaud, and Alizé. However, we have reason to believe those who did turn all hail from Locus Ominous. You mean Corvos, the Garlean's ancestral home? Very same. When the ill effects of the final days began to manifest there, a number of Garlean refugees from the region sought sanctuary in Garlemald. The capital was already in ruins when they arrived. They were offered asylum, but many refused and instead chose to fend for themselves on the outskirts of the city. We are of a mind to go and speak with them directly if you would care to join us. Perhaps together we can learn of what their recent circumstances triggered such terrible change among their people. Level 90, Bitter Snow, complete. Level 90, Frozen Hope. Autorel is eager to begin his inquiry. Time being of the essence, I believe it prudent we split into 2 groups and cover as much ground as we may, quickly as possible. If you and Master Fortunal would inquire after the people at Victor's spoils, the 2 of us shall see what we may learn at Liminal Station 4. When you have finished, pray meet us there. Victor's spoils is to the east of here, yes? Let us be off. That they should choose to reside here in the cold, I can but presume they will not be amenable to conversation. Even so, we must not be deterred. Come. Talk? What is there to talk about? We've no home, no future, nothing. This doom spells the end for us all. Come to hear our grievances, have you? We've more than you have time to hear them, I'm sure. We've lost not 1, but 2 homes, our loved ones, our livelihood. There's nothing left. I served my time with the military. For what? To lose all my friends, my son, and there was naught to show for it but our claim to Locus Amanus. So we thought. Calamity was visited upon us for reasons we know not, and when we thought to flee, it followed on our heels to Garlemald, ruin and ash at every turn. Can't imagine why you or anyone else would feign interest in our troubles, but if you insist, you'll find a great many of the people here were in the military at one time or another, some retiring with honors and others without. Sadly, I'm one of the latter, bore 1 too many scars in battle. Even so, my contributions were enough to warrant leave to move to Locus Amanus. It was a land of warmth and bounty. The Corvosi rebellion admittedly proved troublesome for a time, but it didn't take long for the Second Legion to quell their uprising. You could practically drown in the calm and quiet. Then one day the skies came alive with flame. We were overrun by all manner of foul beasts born of our brothers and sisters. The Second Legion barely had time to assemble their forces before they were overrun and snuffed out. We barely escaped with our lives. But we were greeted only with more wrack and ruin on our arrival here, and we've not the strength to take our home back from the Corvosi a second time. There's nothing left for us anywhere. Did you learn aught of how they came to be in such dire straits? I see, I heard much of the same. Military forces of Locus Amanus were defeated in the wake of the final days. Desperate to survive, they naturally fled to Garlemald seeking sanctuary. It was their hope the might of the Empire would allow them to reclaim the home they were forced to abandon, but the capital was already in ruin when they arrived. Needless to say, the lands they have long believed to be ancestral home of the Garlean people may remain forever lost to them. Those unfamiliar with history would believe they have always resided in the bitter cold climes of northern Ilsabard, but that was only after the Corvosi invaded 800 years prior. The advent of Magitech, I imagine it was all too easy for Emperor Solus to rally his people and take back what they believed to be rightfully theirs. Yet history would tell us true that the land they call Locus Amonis has been known by other names and served as home to myriad people. Indeed, one need only look back to the Alligans' reign in the Third Astral Era to give the lie to Garly and claim sovereignty. Yet even had they such ancestral ties to Locus Amonis, antecedents cannot justify their animosity to foreign people. Animosity poorly veiled by delusions of justice, as has been the case for so many nations throughout history. Would that man had the sense and strength of will to break free from such chains of hatred? Help, someone help. They've turned. Another monster? Quickly, we haven't a moment to lose. One of my mates seemed unwell, so I thought to come over and look in on him. Next thing I knew, no one appears to be injured. Did he not attack? Just walked off in the direction of the tower in a daze as if it was calling to him. He could not have gone far. If you would go after him, I will remain here and see that all are accounted for. The beast is slain then? Thank the heavens. For a blessing no others have turned, and a measure of calm has been restored, if only for the moment. Witnesses were able to offer a clue as to the source of the transformation. They claimed the afflicted was listening to this radio. Even now it continues to play the same cryptic message. Empire, no more. Never again. Rise. Ashes. Though distorted by radio static, you can hear a voice saying, "The Empire is no more. Never again shall it rise from the ashes." But how is this possible? There are no facilities left standing that could possibly deliver a broadcast. Anima was capable of sending such a message. The last time this happened, the signal came from the Tower of Babel. Be that as it may, Anima is no more, and the Tower of Babel has fallen into disrepair, by your hand, no less. Begs the question, who, or perhaps what, could be behind this? Ms. Zilly, Master Fortunald, a moment, if you would. Shortly after we finished our inquiry at Liminal Station 4, Lord Americ and Admiral Merweb arrived and requested an audience. Apologies for our late arrival. Knowing firsthand the devastation of which blasphemies are capable, I discussed the matter with the Admiral, and we were of one mind that the situation warranted our immediate presence. Is it safe to presume a representative of the survey team has already arrived? Indeed, I have. Thank you for coming all this way on such short notice. Recent events here at the camp have proved most enlightening. And this is the aforementioned radio? Empire, no more, never again, rise to ashes. A harsh reminder of their misfortune, sufficient to push someone wayward few over the edge, it would seem. There still remains a question of who is sending this message and from where. Glory everlasting, Garlemald. For glory everlasting for Garlemald? No, it couldn't be. You recognize this message? A mantra often spoken by Lord Nerva. Anyone who lived in the provinces under his authority could scarcely forget those words. He sought to claim the throne after the assassination of Emperor Varus, did he not? After civil war broke out, he all but disappeared, according to the intelligence we managed to gather. How could he have managed to breach the tower undetected? To have done so and remain unnoticed by the creatures infesting the tower seems nigh impossible task, unless... You think the voice on the radio is the blasphemy? You think the voice on the radio is Nerva? I do, and as it was with Anima, these radios are somehow attuned to whatever signal it emits from the tower. What's more, I believe the true identity of the blasphemy is Nerva, robbed of the throne and forced to watch the empire he longed to command crumble before his very eyes. Such loss did not drive him to the same fate as Quintus. The despair he felt no doubt overcame and turned him. Nerva's delusions of grandeur aside, the Garleans' plight sounds not unlike the Sahagin, desperate to preserve their spawning grounds. Indeed, though unscrupulous by any measure, the Garleans found solidarity in their ideology, as did the people of Ishgard and the Church. Adrift without home or purpose, it is all too easy for despair to take hold. Would that a remedy were as simple as offering them land as we did the Sahagin. In all likelihood, the Garleans would refuse to settle for aught less than what they believed to be their ancestral homeland of Locus Amonis. Claim the Corvosi would readily take arms to denounce. We would do well not to further fan the flames of animosity twixt them. Perhaps at the very least we can offer them peace of mind and a means to regain some semblance of stability in their lives. To offer them true comfort and stability, Garlemald must be rebuilt. By no means an easy solution, but perhaps the only one worthy of pursuit. Of course, this new Garlemald must remain a sovereign nation, free from the oversight of others. They would see no meaning in it otherwise. If I'm not mistaken, Alphinaud and Alizé have already made strides in helping the people here regain some normalcy in their day-to-day living. The most important first step, but it will mean little without proper leadership. Rather than a single individual, perhaps a governing body of sorts would prove more effective. There are a number of former Senate members among the refugees at Camp Broken Glass. As I recall, with their help, creating the framework for a new governance is not an impossibility. And let us call the people together and see what they make of our proposal. Final days has taken much from you all. I can but imagine the pain you feel in the face of such immeasurable loss. Though the final days have been averted, its effects yet linger, and a blasphemy has been born of your suffering. Decisive action must be taken before further harm is wrought upon you. To overcome such adversity is too great a task for any one person, but as a people united, there may yet be hope for the morrow. While it is not our place to decide how you will move forward, we would offer a small measure of guidance. We were told a number of former members of your Senate yet remain among you. Would you be amenable to an interim government led by these individuals until such time as Garlemald can be rebuilt? Rebuild Garlemald? Is such a thing truly possible? Even if we do cobble together some governing council, they won't be making anything of that pile of ash we dare call Garlemald. There's no going back to Locus Amonis either. Rack and ruin, those are our only options. I realize to rebuild Garlemald is a seemingly impossible task, but you needn't undertake it alone. My children are working with members of the First Legion as we speak to begin an organized relief effort. There are others from provinces no doubt willing to lend their expertise. Need but ask, not as would-be conquerors, but as brothers and sisters of this star, and others will heed your call. If you should still see no merit in the rebuilding of Garlemald, then I would instead offer you residency in Charlie, and I promise you will be welcomed with open arms. Charlian, so now you'd expect us to go and lick boots in some country we've never even heard of. My apologies if I appeared overly forward in my proposition. Considering our strict policies on non-intervention until but recently, it is not surprising that you are unfamiliar with my homeland. It is an island nation to the north, home to myriad peoples, which is why I believe it would not prove difficult to accommodate you and yours. To be clear, you would not be migrating to Charlian to live in servitude. You have my word that each and every one of you would be guaranteed citizenship upon entry. And why exactly would you go to such lengths for us, for the conquerors you barely know? Charlian was long aware of the coming doom that would be the final days, and so we were preparing to evacuate this star, taking as many people and resources as our stores would allow. Initially, it was our intent to save the people of Garlemald as well, but we had not forgotten your transgressions invading Alamigo, your rejection of our entreaties for peace. After a great deal of deliberation, it was decided that we would forgo an invitation to Garlemald, a determination made with great trepidation. We had convinced ourselves it was ultimately for the greater good, though I can think of at least one individual who would continue to protest. To ignore the plight of those one might conceivably save is not wisdom, it is indolence. Sage counsel I brazenly cast aside when confronted with the final days in earnest. Zilly here and her companions refused to forsake those we were otherwise unwilling to save. With great risk to themselves, they achieved the impossible and opened my eyes to the error of the Forum's decision. If all other roads lead to ruin regardless, perhaps we should at least consider it. And it would be my pleasure to invite you all to Camp Broken Glass, where you shall have warm food and beds both. Admiral Merweb and I shall speak with Maxima and the others and consider how best to assist the Garleans moving forward. Should we broach the subject of the blasphemy, however, we will not hesitate to call upon you. Level 90, Frozen Hope. Grade 6. Complete. Level 90, Misguided Few. Though visibly relieved the Garleans are safe, the hardness in Fortunal's eyes suggest your work is far from over. The Garleans' hearts at ease, the likelihood of others turning has greatly diminished. That said, it is no cause for us to grow complacent. We must needs find a way to overcome the blasphemy's protective warding. If I understand correctly, a blasphemy's behavior is oftentimes influenced by the memories and emotions of their originator, in which case it would be prudent to learn more of the man who birthed this monstrosity. Fortuitous, then, that a number of soldiers from the 3rd Legion are in our custody. For mercy, their tempering was not so severe as to be beyond our ability to heal them. They are presently being treated at Camp Broken Glass. Perhaps the camp's intelligence officer can tell us who among them knows aught of Nerva's whereabouts. I see. Perhaps it'd be best if you speak with Virgilia, legatus of the 3rd Legion. He's still on the mend, but the Chirurgeons aren't like to oppose a brief conversation if you would wait here a moment. Yours is champion, I presume, in one of her cohorts. What business have you with me? Ilzabard is faced with imminent crisis, and we believe the knowledge you bear may be key in stopping it. Thus do we believe the blasphemy to be Nerva. His whereabouts in the wake of Garlemald's fall, or lack thereof, give credence to our theory. Lord Nerva. From what we have pieced together thus far, you were one of the last to see him alive. Please, will you not share with us what you know? Very well, though I suspect what meager knowledge I possess shall avail you naught. I last spoke with Lord Nerva shortly after the warring with the First Legion began. Cloistered within the lower levels of the Cenaculum Imperialis, he spent the better part of the day listening attentively to the radio. He seemed hopeful or perhaps desperate for news that the tide might turn in our favor. The next day I left for the front line. It was there I heard a terrible noise, which I assumed came from the Tower of Babel. Then darkness took me and I remembered naught after that. I was told the radios protected those close to them from the effects of the tower, in which case Lord Nerva would have remained unaffected. But he has ever been devoted to Garlemald, for glory everlasting, he would say. To watch the empire he loved so dearly crumble, I can think of no one who would be more stricken by the sight. It would seem we were right to assume what became of Nerva. And it does not surprise me the beast would choose to make its nest within the Tower of Babel. It stands atop the remains of the Imperial Palace and the throne he revered so highly. But the Empire is no more, and Lord Nerva apparently is no longer the man he once was. He deserves to be laid to rest, together with his dreams of glory. We will fell the beast, you have my word. Apologies for the interruption. Connie Senna has arrived and we're ready to depart. It's good to see you, Zilly, Master Fortunal. I've spoken with Lorenz of the ward protecting the blasphemy, and I am quite confident some manner of ether-based magic bars our path. I may be so bold, Elder Seetsier, we reached the same conclusion initially, but that simply is not possible. These creatures born of the final days are devoid of ether. As such, they would be unable to produce such a barrier in a manner to which we are not accustomed. Do you suppose it's possible they manipulated Dynamis to achieve a similar effect? I too thought to dismiss the notion of a barrier fueled by ether. That is, until I stepped foot here in Garlemald. Even now I can sense streams of ether flowing toward the tower. The purpose was, after all, to harvest reserves of energy sufficient to reach the moon. Even if one was incapable of manipulating ether directly, it stands to reason control of the tower would alleviate such a need. It is merely conjecture, of course. I cannot say for certain until I have examined the currents with mine own eyes. Might I ask you to accompany us? I would join you as well, if I may. My injuries would keep me from being used in battle, but my knowledge of the land should serve just as well as my blade. I would not be opposed to your company, but it is not my decision to make. She may go so long as she remains under watch by you and the others. Very good. Might I suggest we begin with Regio Urbanissima? I sense the greatest confluence of ether in that vicinity. I'm gonna guess that's Alizé following us, given how bad she is at it. Hanging around. As I thought, the ether stream here flows toward the tower, as do all others in this region, no doubt. This convergence first began when the Telophoroi erected spires in all corners of Eorzea to fuel the Tower of Babel. But once destroyed, the divergence of ether should have ceased. Alright, whoever you are, if you've business with us, quit your skulking about in the shadows and speak your piece. Was you there in the tower, wasn't it? No. Nero, my, you're sharper than you look. I recognize you, Nero, yes? Why are you following us? Who said I'm following you? Being a native of Garlemald, does it not stand to reason I might be inclined to come and see what has become of my home? I know not what you're scheming, but we've no time to entertain your games. Perhaps Master Garland would make better company for you. Spare me, I am a man of great ambition and greater intellect, far beyond the scope of anything Garland could hope to achieve. He still keeps his head in the clouds, while I would set my sights on the stars beyond. Which is why you snuck into the tower, but like us, you couldn't get past the blasphemy to reach the transporter? Yes, well, I was very much hoping you would dispense with that little obstacle. Having caught wind of your plans, curiosity compelled me to see if you were truly up to the task. Do you have reason to believe we are not, or perhaps does the great genius Nero mean to dispense with the blasphemy himself? Far be it from me to steal your glory having come all this way, but as I am feeling generous, I will tell you what I learned during my time in the Tower of Babel. I was able to access its systems, you see, and discovered one of those dreadful spires still appears to be active. Impossible, they all vanished when Anima was destroyed. Yes, and I've heard of your escapades reclaiming the remains of the Emperor, but obviously you failed to reclaim his entire body. As it stands, a piece remains powering a tower at Fabric. Ah yes, the manufacturing district, just north of the erstwhile Imperial Palace. Rather impressive feat considering how these lands are so utterly devoid of ether, barely enough to sustain life, let alone the spire. But if one were to use Varus's remains to forcibly create a confluence of sorts. Precisely, and from what I gleaned of the tower's systems, his heart serves as its core. Coursing not with blood, but your precious ether, and now Nerva has amassed a surfeit to shore up his defenses. Fortuitous he should find so perfect an impetus for his design, stolen from better minds than his own. How very like him. Oh, did I say that aloud? You'll forgive me if I fail to show concern for your ire. What you say is true. These lands could never hope to recover from such a paucity of life energies. We must hurry and find Varus's heart to both spare the land this wanton harvesting and deny the blasphemy the source of its protection. Are we to presume you have any intention of aiding us? As I've said, I've no intention of stealing your glory, though I fear victory may soon slip through your fingers if you do not act quickly. The Tower of Babel was designed specifically for Anima to serve as its core. Nerva forcing himself upon the system has caused it to grow increasingly unstable. My calculations are correct, they will always, and they always are. It will not be long before his presence triggers a system meltdown. The resulting explosion will destroy whatever tenuous streams of ether breathe life into the lands of Garlemald. More importantly, we will lose our only means of reaching the moon. The heavens forever denied my genius. Great. How so very unfortunate. In any event, it would seem time is of the essence. That's all well and good, but even if we know which district to search, finding the heart will be like looking for a needle in a bloody haystack. Actually, I may know where we can start. It's all rather hazy, but I still have vague recollections of my time serving Anima when I was enthralled. We were commanded to erect some manner of facility tucked away in a corner of Fabrica. Remember not what it was for, but it's as good a place as any to begin our search. Certainly sounds promising, but surely this facility will be heavily guarded. Maybe it'd be best to divide our forces. If it's just the four of us, we shouldn't prove too difficult to sneak inside and find the heart. Meanwhile, our main force can stand ready to storm the Tower of Babel when the barrier gives out. Leave it to us. This is Levier. What? Very well, we shall return at once. A number of Garleans have left camp for the Tower of Babel. They have somehow misunderstood the threat of the tower and convinced themselves that Nerva has taken refuge there, still clinging to their ill-placed patriotism, no doubt. They could not have gone far. If we act quickly, perhaps they can be found before they come to harm. Wise man would not waste his time on few wayward refugees. I thought you Charlian scholars knew better. To ignore the plight of those one might conceivably save is not wisdom, sir. If it is all the same to you, I would join you. I will return to camp and begin preparations for our assault on the tower. And I suppose I should go as well. Though I am unarmed, I promise not to be a burden. That said, it would behoove us to avoid any undue confrontations if possible. Now then, let us be off. Fortunal now accompanying you. Keep him at your side in order to proceed with quest objectives. You can leave Fortunal behind by entering a different area, by speaking with him and selecting the option to part ways. If you wish to have Fortunal accompany you again, return and speak with him at the original location. Okay, where are we going? No trace of them here. Let us keep searching. Help, someone, please. Did you hear that? It came from over there. You're the ones who came to speak with us before. We heard Lord Nerva had returned and was assembling his forces in the tower, but... No, not Lord Nerva, too. There really is nothing left for us. I'll not deny your situation is dire, but you are not without a path forward. I believe you've the passion and conviction needed to rebuild Garlemald, if you so choose, or failing that, you could begin life anew in Charlian. Rebuild Garlemald? No, there is no point entertaining so lofty a dream, and we would sooner die than suffer life under the rule of another. You would sooner seek death in sanctuary. Your resolve is admirable, but sorely misplaced. If you would not see Garlemald rise from the snow and ashes here in Ilsabard, might you consider venturing onto a new frontier? A new frontier, and where exactly is this land ripe for exploration? There, on the moon. It is our goal to create a repository of man's knowledge there, free from the jurisdiction of any nation. I understand the magitech and technological advancements of Garlemald were without peer. Your expertise would be indispensable in the endeavor, should you be willing, of course. You really expect us to go and live on the bloody moon? Such a thing even possible? Have you a better alternative? Lest you forget, Garlemald did not rise to grandeur from complacency in the present or rumination in the past. We live for the future. It is in our blood. Life is not without its hardships, of course. Even I have met with the occasional stumbling block, but even should I stumble, my eyes are forever fixed skyward, seeking ever greater heights. The Empire may be lost, but I still possess a great deal of knowledge gained from it, and a desire to seek more. The very notion of exploring the moon is an unprecedented prospect, and that you would balk at it, the proposition boggles the mind. Consider this, you have heard that beasts of the final days were born of those hapless souls that had given up on everything, yes? That is indeed the case. You tell me why you still stand before me? Because deep down you believe your life is yet worth living. Deep down you long to reach for the unreachable. Or perhaps you don't. If you should choose to lay down and die here in the snow, that's none of my concern. Great. Reach for the unreachable. That sounds like something I would have said back at the academy. All right, we'll go. I suppose it's better than dying here in the snow, as you so grimly put it. And we must first dispense with the blasphemy that commands the tower. Hard to believe Lord Nerva, of all people, could be turned into one of those monsters. Please, you must stop him. Put his soul to rest. Thank you, and sorry for causing all this trouble. Thank you for the rousing call to action, but I thought you had no interest in meddling in our affairs. Lest you misunderstand, I abhor the idea of my countrymen blindly following nobles they know next to nothing about. Besides, it would be a most piteous sight for not a single Garlean to be among those venturing to the moon. Who else am I to prevail upon to learn of new findings up there? Level 90, misguided few. Complete. Level 90, Forlorn Glory. Fortunal is eager to regroup and make ready for battle. From what Nero has told us, time is now a luxury we can ill afford. Let us return to Camp Broken Glass, if only for the moment. The others are no doubt finishing their preparations for battle. should hope the other's absence means all proceeds apace. Good, you're here. With the recent arrival of reinforcements, our preparations are all but complete. Well, we're getting the whole band together, huh? Apologies for our lateness. It seems we are at least in time to help deliver the crushing blow. Aye, and if the fates are kind, this will be the last we see of these damnable blasphemies. Commander Alden, Lord Hean, thank you both for coming. Yes, of course, understood. Lawrence and the others have reclaimed Varus's heart. The barrier protecting the blasphemy should soon dissipate. And the time has come to at last storm the Tower of Babel. Admiral Merweb and Lord Amaric await our arrival at its base. Then we should be about it, eh? I suppose this is as good an opportunity as any to keep my hammer from rusting over. I will accompany you as well. As the forum's representative and a member of the survey team, I feel it my responsibility to see this through to the end. You sure you wouldn't rather wait here? I didn't take you for the fighting type. Despite appearances, I am no stranger to the battlefield. Indeed, I have seen my fair share traveling the world in service to the Forum. I may not be the equal of Alphinaud at Alizé. We shall not find ourselves wanting, I can promise you that much. When you have all finished your preparations, we shall reconvene at the Enceladium. Alright. I guess we're gonna have a duty here coming up. When we did the other ones. All are present and accounted for. Shall we proceed? Your progress through the battle will be saved at certain points. In the event that you are defeated, you will be able to try again from the most recent of these. Please note that if you enter battles associated with other quests or log out from the game, this progress will be lost. Duty calls. Commence battle for Forlorn Glory. Level sync is in effect. If you are above the maximum allowed level, will be synced as follows. Level 90. Proceed. Our objective is simple. Locate and eliminate the blasphemy, Nerva. Though the barrier guarding him is no more, a number of beasts will surely block the way at the auxiliary sector. Off to a smashing start, I see. It would seem the tower will reach its limit sooner than I anticipated. If we're to save the transporter, we must hurry and find Nerva now. Should go without saying, but stay on your guard. There was quite the menagerie of horrors when last I was here. However, I shall hold them off. Press on, my friend.
The path has been revealed. The winds favor us.
Down with you!
Shall hold the line here. When see it opening, take it and do not look back. There's no end to them. So much going on.
Tizona!
Okay. At the first wave. Is that the last of them? Of course not. Can't afford for them to impede our advance any further. Commander Alden, let us hold them here. Master Fortunal, take the others and go, quickly. Understood. Blasphemy, Nervaye Galvus. It's like the thing from Shadowbringer. Leave, leave now. Garlemald is mine. Mine. Okay, how do we want to approach this? Why am I tanking? I don't want to tank. As soon as I... Noise. I'm on the offensive. What else do you want from me? Summon. Summon what? Now, as soon as I set it down, of course. come too far to give up now. Put an end to this, shall we? Ninja. Yay. That wasn't bad. For glory everlasting indeed. Is it over? Has the danger passed? A hair's breadth, perhaps, but yes, I'd say we've managed to avoid a fiery ruin. Our path to the moon is open once more. The duty of Charlian has ever been to chart the course of history, not to change it. Thus did we fervently hold to our policies of neutrality and non-intervention. Truth, it was all in service to our plans of exodus, to abandon this star to its ruinous fate. Harsh though it may sound, I still believe it was ultimately for the greater good. Thanks to you and your comrades, however, it was a fate that did not come to pass. Charlian will now find a new way forward, not merely for the preservation of knowledge, but for the betterment of this star and all who call it home. I believe I speak for all of the Forum when I say it would be an honor and a privilege to work towards such a goal alongside the Allied nations. An age of true and everlasting peace is finally within our grasp, and we will seize it together. It is a relief to know we've no longer a need for battle. Despite my experience, I must confess I am ill-suited to it. The Allied nation leaders, meanwhile, demonstrated an aptitude for combat far and above what I might expect from diplomatic figures. And you, my friend, I see now why you are so well regarded as Eorzea's champion. The others have already begun the arduous journey home, but before you go, I would offer a word of thanks to the both of you. Not for your timely assistance, our plans would be forfeit, and the lands of Ilsabard forever defiled by the blasphemy. Please, I've no need for your platitudes. I labor only to further my own ends, nothing more. We heard the news. Thank you for everything. With Lord Nerva laid to rest, we've the peace of mind to move on without regret. There you are. Now, what's this I've heard about you cleaning out the Tower of Babel? Are we finally ready to return to the moon? Ah, what fortuitous timing. Allow me to introduce you to Livingway of the Loporits, Moon Dweller and Overseer of the Survey Team. Livingway, these good people will be the moon's first residents. I trust you and the other Loporits will take good care of them. Pleased to meet you. Residents? Oh no. I mean, oh yes, splendid. After many, many long years of planning and preparation, the moon is absolutely most definitely ready to accommodate your stay. Glad to hear it, and apologies for the delay. I must first confer with Lorenz to see our final preparations, but your residence-to-be and the survey team shall be along ere long. Long ere long. Might I trouble you to relay word of our success to Shirabat and Razatan? I should think the tidings all the more heartening coming from you. Until next we meet. Wait, you're not leaving for the moon without me. Already on it. Radiant. So it's true then, the blasphemy in Garlemald has been struck down. They were right to call on you, it seems. With no other outstanding reports of blasphemy sightings, I dare say you've slain the last of them. Perhaps now we can finally start to put the final days behind us, strange though that may sound. On behalf of my fellow delegates and the Radiant Host, I extend to you our humblest thanks. I hope when next I call on you, it will be under more fortuitous circumstances. Level 90, Forlorn Glory, complete. Even unlocked some of our parts.